I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I have gotten emails and people saying, I don't really care about the content. I just love your voice.
It sounds dreamy.
I think he plays with the balance and the tone, like in terms of level.
I figured as much, Paul. Just have fun.
Right. Oh, I'm getting technical now.
You sound great on there, Nick.
So, Nick, you have an engineer on the show today. And he is a technical guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to get along. I'm going to get some good jokes in because...
You're going to be laughing at yourself today, I think. It's going to be the dad joke episode with Nick Hurricane.
Listen, first of all, my dad jokes are actually on a higher tier of dad joke level.
We'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Welcome to the Arcfluence Podcast, where we talk about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm Nick Hurricane, your host, and with me today, as usual, is my business partner and co-host, Paul Fatkins.
Good morning. You know, I totally messed up the last episode. I should have talked about all the races that were coming up and all the, the things I'm looking forward to, like the excitement stuff. Just totally flubbed it last episode.
Don't be so hard on yourself,
I'm still
Paul.
thinking about it.
Yeah. I forgive you.
Yeah. So
speaking of racing, holy moly.
It's good. It's good. So
yeah.
They're holding their own.
This season's going to be incredible. I'm bummed that we're going to have the gap in April with, all the conflicts and all, but we won't dive into that piece. Yeah. But I am excited for the season. A lot of fun racing ahead.
Yeah. Well, today should be fun, though. We got, similar to racing, kind of technical kind of person on the show today.
We have an engineer.
Yeah. So I know architects and engineers don't necessarily get along
the time. I think we should squash that stigma. I mean, there is some truth to it, but I have lots of engineer friends.
But I feel like there's a stereotype for a reason. So there must be enough people out there that there's friction between the two groups. For me, yeah, personally, no, I've usually been fine.
Well, that's because you're basically an engineer, Paul. I mean, your sense of humor is about as dry as it gets. Well, why don't you introduce our guest today? Our topic today is actually Phius certification. If you don't know what that is, it's...
I think just passive strategy in general. And essentially Steven will explain it, we'll get into it. But we actually met him because we were working with a client who wanted to pursue this certification for his personal home. So, obviously as Arcfluence, we're an architecture firm. We have exposure to these principles and we've dealt with these principles quite a bit, throughout education and along the way. Most people are not necessarily going to the level of full certification. So it's like, it's probably a good idea to have a consultant come on for this project. So that's where we sought Steven out to come in and help us.
Yeah, it's still relatively a rare thing.
Yeah. I would say maybe in the future it'll become more common, but who knows? I don't know. Steven, welcome to the show. So what do you think? You think in the future it'll be more common?
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me. In the future I think it will absolutely be more common. It's still in its infancy here in, Ohio, but... it's already gaining traction in a lot of other places in the U.S. and it's going to be.
I feel like when we were in school, we would study projects that were like on the East Coast, on the West Coast, certainly California. Right. Like they would have projects out the wazoo, in terms of
same with LEED certification. On the commercial side. Tell you what, just for our audience, do you want to give like a broad overview of Phius, what that means, what it focuses on in terms of residential, things of that nature?
Sure, yeah. Phius is, it used to be an acronym. They've kind of rebranded, and now we're just pronouncing Phius, right? But it's PHIUS. It's Passive House Institute US. And it's an organization that promotes passive building methodologies and develops a standard for achieving and certifying buildings to the passive standard. It includes a lot of different types of strategies for building a better envelope, as well as fresh air ventilation, reduced size of mechanical systems, more efficient mechanical systems. Big focus on getting to net zero readiness, if not outright net zero from the outset. So they have a big focus on not just energy efficiency, but durability, resilience of buildings. So the ability for habitable conditions to be maintained in a building, even in a power outage, let's say like a heat wave for even a month on end.
A month?
Yeah. I mean, sorry, not a month. I said a week. I said a month. That was a long time.
Yeah.
But, actually, in all seriousness, you can sometimes get to that point where you are not in the danger zone even without power.
And listen, in a week for me I would have reacted the same way, even though I knew that's what it was. Like that's a long time. If your power were to get shut off in the middle of winter, and it's
the middle of summer,
the middle of summer, it's and there's this extreme difference, but you had your home conditioned to 70 degrees, is going to stay that temperature for a week.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not 70 degrees, but the point is it's going to be a lot closer to that than it is outside. And other buildings, maybe within a day are going to be in the upper 80s inside. Sure. If it's a, heat wave in Texas, for example. So yeah, we've had that kind of thing happen in the U.S.
Yeah,
where
I just thought of a way to think about it. Like, when your power goes out and you have your refrigerator, and it's like you tell your kids, like, don't go open, just leave it closed.
Yeah.
Right. So then that way it like stays for as long as possible. But like it actually does like a fairly good job. Like you can go quite a while with if the doors are closed and still have your food okay. Right. I mean, it's similar idea. Like it's a very well insulated building and it's very efficient. Like if things are running, but if they're not running, it's able to retain that heat or that cold inside and not bleed it to the outside like Paul, our buildings do.
That's a very good comparison.
Yeah, that is. On that. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely is a good comparison. I mean, and that's what's happening with, passive buildings, in simplification.
Yeah, and, I think a lot of people don't think necessarily about the long-term game when it comes to a building. They look at their contractor and the price to get it built, and they're just like, do the minimum, do it for as cheap as possible, and get me in the home, right? They don't think about, well, it's going to cost me $700 a month in electricity to be in the house and live in the house. So,
sure.
Yeah.
And not only that, just the life cycle of the building itself. If you're building it better, it's going to stay in better shape. It's going to last the test of time.
Well, even the occupants inside of the house will be better off as well. Especially, there's a certain air level tightness, right, within the home that the standard and the certification has to be built to. And so, like, say you're deathly allergic to whatever tree pollen during the spring, right? Like having that control and filtering within your house, like you're going to be much more comfortable in your house versus an older house that's drafty and leaky and whatever.
You're right. Well, let's get some more from the expert on the topic. Stephen, do you just give us a background of how, what led you to this and why this is your chosen?
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't start life out as a Phius, consultant.
When you were 5 years old, you're just like,
got my certification when I was 6, actually. No.
Not quite that far back, but
no. So my background is in mechanical engineering. That's what my degree is in. But for a decade, actually, I was an automotive engineer. So I was in that industry. And
are you into Formula One?
I am, actually, my wife is even more into Formula One. I usually get my news about F1 through her.
I know who he worked for before, and I'm not going to throw their name out there.
Sure.
But, they're not, anyway. They're one of the teams that are struggling on the grid this year. So we'll just say that.
That's fairly obvious then.
There's a couple teams struggling, so it could be anyone.
Yeah.
Could be anyone out of the two teams that are struggling.
The ones that are struggling really bad.
McLaren has had the fewest laps out of anybody.
I know.
Just so you know.
But they're strong. Okay. All right, let's move on.
They're not showing it if that's the case.
So yeah, I'm a Formula One fan. Like I said, so we've watched the first couple races at home, and it's an interesting season.
All right, we can be friends.
For sure. Yeah, I'd love to talk Formula One here later too. So automotive engineering is where I started, and ever since college, I took a class on sustainable energy that really piqued my interest in that topic, and it was a really great level-headed kind of intro to sustainability. We were heavily using a book called Sustainability Without the Hot Air. I highly recommend that one. It's a great intro to a lot of concepts. But
we'll put a link in that in our show notes, Danny.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one because it really helped inspire me and help me to start thinking about things in a way that I found really helpful. And there was a chapter where housing was the topic, and the idea of passive house was presented. I had never heard of it before. And
We have been doing it for centuries, trying to engineer houses from naturally, in passive ways. And now it's getting exciting because we can
even the Romans, like they had fountains in there. They had an open courtyard and a fountain, and they did that for cooling purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, like, there's been techniques that have been used from even going all the way back to the freaking
Egyptians,
Persian Empire. Yeah, and they had like ice houses. Like they'd go up into the mountains and collect ice, and then they would go bring it down into the desert, and they would build a structure in a certain way that actually preserved the ice till the summer, so that the prince or king could have like a little slushy, or whatever ice cream
Very
treat.
important.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's a passive principle. They didn't have a refrigeration or anything.
No, for all of human history up until the Industrial Revolution, really we were reliant on passive strategies for cooling, and
then we forgot about them.
And we kind of forgot about them as mechanical systems became affordable, cheap, and the fuel was cheap. But in recent decades, we're trying to remind ourselves of those things, and it's some of the passive strategies we take now are different from. A little different from what we would have done centuries ago, but some of them are fundamentally still the same.
Yeah.
So
I'll send you, Nick. I'll send you an episode on the Ice King, basically on YouTube. It's a great episode. It's like how he built his empire, and like his first idea was like, I'm going to ship ice down to the Caribbean, and everyone thought he was crazy, And he just used these techniques and principles, again, like passive principles, to get the ice there. Because I mean, like, this is when you're putting on a ship that's like sailing with the wind, And he built his empire this way. He had sold ice all around the world. It's an interesting story from an entrepreneurial investment standpoint too.
Yeah.
So
send it away.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, that was my intro to Passive House, and I kind of, all but forgot it for a few years. But toward the tail end of my time in the automotive industry, I was really thinking more about my impact in that industry and what could I do to shape a more sustainable future. And it's difficult in the automotive industry. It's a little different than housing and building generally, because you're talking about huge global companies. We're making millions and millions of copies of essentially the same thing. And so that mass production model, it means that every person's contribution to a project is tiny. It's worldwide, but it's tiny. It's kind of the opposite in building, where, one person can have a significant impact, but on a more local scale. So I also was, starting to learn more about the impact of our building industry, both in terms of energy put into the materials and operational energy, and what a big chunk of that is really due to our buildings. And I started to see that, especially in the U.S., there's some low-hanging fruit where I could potentially have some bigger impact on sustainability in building on that local scale. So that started to really I started to think, well, okay, how can I do this? It led me to passive certification.
You are brilliant, because where do you typically start? You start with yourself, and you built your own home.
Yeah, I did do that. I experimented on myself. I got my certification as a passive house consultant through Phius, and I just decided I've got to do something with this. I want it to be significant. I want it to be big. I want it to be a challenge, but I've got to just dive in and do it. So yeah, I designed and built my own home, finished that up a couple years ago.
I think that's how we found you. So I know you presented for AIA at the local chapter here, which we're very involved with, but I think we found you because that came later. We searched you, and we're like, what is the first Phius certified house in Columbus?
In Clintonville, yeah.
Yeah.
So we literally found the webpage, and it's like, well, we'll reach out to this guy. He's local. So
yeah. I remember you guys reached out, and it was great to hear from you. Yeah, I put up a little website for my project, and I thought, I'll try to do a little bit of a, I don't know, blog or something along the way as I build. I wasn't as great at putting regular posts on there as I would like to have been, but it was still useful.
Well, you got busy. People are interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you get quite a few people reaching out because of the website, like finding you online, just searching?
I do. I mean, you guys, of course. There's also another recent project I finished up. It's actually the second certified passive house now in Central Ohio as of February. That one, it happened the same way. The designer reached out to me, and we found a way to collaborate on that. So, and then just a number of other people, builders in the area, some other architects, some other just enthusiasts, right? Neighbors who were really interested in what I was doing. So,
and thank goodness our client was interested in pursuing a Phius certification, which is what led us to you. But can you tell us?
Yeah, as I say, go back to more. So once you decided to pursue this path and kind of build your own house, what was the timeline like, start to finish? What were some of the challenges that you ran into on your first project?
Tell us about your journey, because obviously you had to teach yourself a lot of this, and this is kind of
I'd love to hear like the biggest lesson learned on your house.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, there are a lot of lessons learned.
You got to pick the big, or at least the good story, lesson learned.
Well, yeah, I'll say so. Well, let's start with timeline. I mean, I was while I was still working full time in the automotive industry, I was starting to formulate this plan. I had decided I want to build a house. So then I had to figure out, where was I going to do this. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do it in the city. I wanted it to be an infill project.
I think
were you in Columbus at the time?
I wasn't. No, I was in the outskirts. I lived in Marysville at the time. I had some friends in Clintonville. I kind of liked the character of the neighborhood. It's a little eclectic. It's kind of walkable.
I think it's one of the best neighborhoods in Columbus that still has the Columbus taxes, like Columbus proper. Like there's a lot of great neighborhoods, but like, from Grandview, Upper Arlington, Bexley, like there's just so many other towns, towns that are.
Well, all those neighborhoods you just mentioned are more expensive than Clintonville. Clintonville's still like affordable
I don't
to
know.
some level.
So Clintonville's a split. There are $1 million homes in Clintonville.
Yeah.
I did flip a house in Clintonville too, but I mean, it's a great, cute little neighborhood. The houses are also on the smaller side, which is why you see slightly lower price points. But
yeah, and that worked for me too, because I was looking to build something that for me was right size. So it was always going to be under 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Ended up about 1,800, but I found a lot to buy, which is uncommon in Clintonville. I had it for maybe a couple years before I broke ground on anything, but in the meantime, I was starting to slowly formulate ideas that progressed into more solid concepts, which worked their way into actual, construction drawings finally. And
you did the drawings yourself?
I did.
Okay.
I'm not an architect. I have no architectural training, so it took me a long time. And you may still see some things
What's
that
a long
you would
time?
question. Oh, I mean, I was working on these things from the time I guess I really committed to I'm going to build this thing to getting the construction set permitted. I mean, it was easily a year.
Okay.
I mean, I was doing this in my spare
That's a long time.
I guess, but it was it was a while. Good thing I was a patient client for myself. So once I got the permit and had everything squared away, we broke ground, and it ended up being a couple year process to build. I was mostly solo building, so that's mostly the reason behind that. I was my own GC, but I was also the laborer, the framer, the roofer.
Wow.
I did all my own insulation, tile work, paint.
I'm sure you
installed the cabinets.
You have
all
some incredible equity in that property.
There's definitely some sweat equity in there, and I don't know what it's all worth exactly, but it's embedded in.
You didn't get a final appraisal?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh my goodness, we got to
That's
talk.
that's as I say. That's
We
one of
gotta
the things
talk.
Nick
Yeah.
cares about.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, I would,
Tell me from
Yeah.
price you paid to lot to final
Well,
appraisal. You
why?
know. Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
It's not. This isn't for ego or bragging rights, but now you can tap into that equity with a line of credit, right? A HELOC.
sure.
And that just, you don't even have to use it. You make sure that it's available and it's sitting there for any opportunity that comes across your desk. So say something happens. Not only is it a rainy day fund,
Mm-hmm.
it's also an opportunity to buy something else, purchase an investment, help a family member. Like you just have that, you've created something, a store of wealth. And now that just allows you to tap into it. So it's good planning.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be the invest part of the podcast.
Well, yeah, I'll tap into your expertise here later to
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
but no,
start
he's.
on
I
that
mean,
process.
yeah, he's definitely right. Like it's an asset, right? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, yes, it's your home. Yes, it has certain characteristics and so forth and so forth. But it's also an asset, right? Like
Yeah.
if you go to a bank, like they view it as a line item on a spreadsheet. you
Correct.
know?
It's also, this sounds ridiculous, but it really does help your mental health too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you don't even use it. You're not paying interest on that. You're not tapping into it, but it's always there.
Yeah,
We-
safety net.
It's a safety net.
Just on reserve, huh?
Sure. So yeah, a lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of folks have family as a safety net. Some people don't. So it's nice to know that if anything happens, I got $200,000 or $300,000 in equity that I can deploy if needed.
Yeah.
So go back, like you weren't working at that point. So I want to go back to like when you started the construction. Like at that point, you had stopped your full-time job.
So once I got everything squared away with the permit and that was done,
You kind of
I turned
decided
in my
like,
2 weeks notice.
yeah, you decided
And-
that's it. I'm pulling the Band-Aid off.
I did because I had fully committed to doing as much as I possibly could on the project, whatever that was going to be. And so that meant, I mean, just committing to that being my full-time job. So, we broke ground a few days before I officially left my full-time job. And then it was just, all day, every day, either at the job site or, on rainy days or whatever, I'd, be putting together the next takeoffs for materials or getting subs.
So I love, like I did side hustles my whole life, and
Yeah.
some of them have grown into big companies and some of them are not around anymore. Is this now, are you now transitioned into this full time? Is this your
Yeah,
so
I have.
exciting. I love that
Yeah.
for you. I love that for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Not the construction part.
Not
but
the construction part.
the
I'm not a full-time
consulting,
builder, but
yeah.
more
Absolutely.
right. And that, I guess even though I didn't from the outset have a really clear vision of what my professional course would take after this project, I did definitely set an intention of going into building my own house and doing as many things as possible with a specific goal of learning everything I possibly could about every aspect, from producing the drawing set to working it through zoning and permitting to being the GC to being the laborer and the builder. Not because I think I'm just so fantastic at all those things.
'Cause you're a control
I'm not,
freak.
but maybe a little bit. But
It's the engineer coming out.
I needed
yeah.
to experience it, before I can help anybody else
Sure.
along this process. If I didn't have the firsthand experience, how can I speak to it for others? So that's the way I felt about it. So I just needed to get in there and experience it.
Respect. I love that. Yeah.
Thanks. It was a long process. It was sometimes really grueling, but I learned a lot. It was hard-won experience and lessons that I don't think I could have gotten easily otherwise.
Do you have any specifics you want to bring up? Like, I made a boo-boo and I
Specific-
ordered $10,000 worth of windows that I can't use, or anything like that?
Fortunately, I didn't do that, but I just
Say Windows is one of those very critical components
Yeah.
in these builds.
You
So I
can't-
doubt it was a window mistake. Yeah.
Fortunately, it was not. Yeah, you can't really cut those down to size if you made a mistake, can you? No. More of what I learned, I think, in the process was just the magnitude of the work it takes. And yes, you can do things solo, but it's so much harder. So, I think, ironically, I learned the value of a team through trying to solo build my house.
You should come to one of the coin presentations. So that's like usually one of the things that are mentioned at almost every meeting is like you need a team of people.
Yeah.
If you're going at these projects with a certain timeline and a certain goal in mind and you want to turn it around, especially on the investor side, like you need to tap into a team of people to help you for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't, because I'm not, I wasn't particularly experienced in the building industry when I went into building my house. I didn't have that network of people that, they're like, oh, here's my trusted list of subcontractors, or
here's a guy for the garage door. Here's a guy for the whatever.
I had to really
if you
build
don't
that.
have if you don't have that network in place and you are forced to do it yourself, yes, it's harder. It does extend your timeline. If you're borrowing money to get all this done, you might be paying interest on that, but I don't think that was the case. But you kind of paid through this as you went, so that there was a cost savings, and the sweat equity is definitely a benefit to that. So
yeah,
it is positive.
It's in there.
There are positives and negatives to
But
either.
I think,
sure.
I think what you just outlined is basically your biggest lesson learned that I was asking about earlier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned how truly, the magnitude of a project like that. And so, although I didn't always have a full team, I recognized the value of doing that in the future.
Yeah.
So, I
Just-
really appreciate it when
like-
there's other people to help you.
Yeah, and I know, and the reason why I mentioned like the fact that you left your full time job too, because I know there's people out there that they'll try and do stuff on the evenings or on the weekends, and they still working a full time job, and they buy some investment property, and they're trying to do a lot of the things themselves, and it's like it's difficult. Like you basically fully committed, pulled that Band-Aid off, and that's it. I'm like, that's my full time job is building this house right now.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give our audience an idea of, like, they're like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. Oh, that sounds like a lot of investment. I don't know if I want to pursue that. Can you talk? Obviously, you can't talk about the equity in your house, which I can probably speak to, but you just need to give me the square footage. And I got your address.
Okay.
But let me know, like, what's your perspective on, like, what are the metrics in terms of I save this much in utilities? I'm like, you're running a whole household for pennies.
Yeah. That's one of the big draws for me for Passive House, and why I wanted to build mine to the standard and certify it, because so first, of course there are so many other benefits, and I always stress putting these first, but the durability of the house is increased. There's a whole lot of quality control during the design and the building of a certified passive project that guarantees you get details right that are critical for keeping a building safe, like from moisture buildup, for example. It's also resilient. It's also more comfortable, and it's a healthy indoor air environment. Those are really core things. And almost along for the ride there is the energy efficiency, but it's also a huge component. I built my house first to be as efficient as it could be, and then added a solar array to bring it to net zero. So my solar array is 18 panels, all on the south side of my roof. I'm grid tied and I'm net metered. So I'm overproducing in the warm months, underproducing in the winter, and borrowing electricity. And of course, it varies day by day too. But net metering allows me to sell my energy back to the grid, and other people can use it. I'm close to achieving, so on paper I'm net zero. I'm close to achieving that. In year one, I overconsumed just a little bit, probably just based on behavior.
And what's your square footage of your house again?
It's about 1,800 finished.
And you're spending literally cents or a few dollars.
Yeah. So, I just tallied it up recently. The first year is $41 a month average. Now, half of that is just customer charges from AEP, just for being hooked up to the grid.
Exactly.
The rest of it was a little bit of energy purchased. But, to go back to what a code-built house would look like, I parsed through my data
about 10 times, right?
Yeah. So it was about anywhere from $350 to $450 a month average if I had just built to code the same house that I actually built. And so it's $400 $100 a month
Yeah,
savings, roughly.
and I know the solar panels add value to the house. So the fact that it is certified adds value to the house. So it's not just the performance and the monthly benefits; it's the value, the overall value of the house too is going to be greater than something comparable.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
That's not. So that's incredible. That's so exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, even with all these other benefits of Passive House and an initial cost increase, if you look at it that way, still on day one, you're making back money in that utility savings. So that's why I always like to look at it in terms of a total cost of ownership. You can't just look at initial cost of, how many dollars a square foot did it cost to build this thing. It's what's the total cost, because you're going to have to start paying those utility bills.
And if you live in Columbus, your bills are going up with all these data centers
going
and
up
everything
everywhere.
year.
Yeah, they're going up everywhere every year. Yeah.
Right. So that's another way I'm kind of insulated from that to a large degree. Of course, any energy I do buy, I have to pay the rate for it, but I don't buy much. So
yeah, and that's it's part of the. So I sit on the Residential Construction Advisory Committee for the state of Ohio, and it's like that's part of the conversation we're having right now. We're talking about adopting from 2019 residential code over to the 2024 stuff, and like a lot of the conversation, especially for the energy stuff, for insulation and other things, it's like, well, it costs more to put this stuff in initially, right? And then but it's like, yeah, but there's a back end to it. It's like, yes, you have to pay more because you have more insulation, because instead of R40, you're at R whatever, but it's like on the back end, you're paying less per month. And so I know it's over a period of time, you're going to get that money back. It's not like instant.
And the financials are
But I mean,
important.
you need to look at that.
Yeah, and that's going to help get the first round of folks excited about this, is the financial benefit to it.
Well, eventually, I mean, once they enact that, it'll be it'll be better than the current code.
And listen, we got to look big picture here too. Is like your micro environment in your home is healthier air quality. When we have a mass adoption of the majority of people practicing this new methods, we are now going to see an increase in air quality in the city itself. Like we're going to be able to help turn the tide against, unhealthy air pollution in our cities. It can really move the needle when we start doing it on a mass scale.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to just the role that building and buildings take as a part of our energy consumption, it's around a third to almost half of our energy expenditures goes into operating buildings and producing materials for buildings. So if you're making those a lot more efficient to operate, you're taking a huge chunk out of the energy pie.
Obviously, automobiles have
contribute
a lot.
Yeah, they're about equal. Actually, they're about equal to the built environment.
There's a lot of stuff in the new code that takes a step towards what a Phius certified house would be. It's not the same level still, but it's a lot better than the 2019 code. And if the state of Ohio adopts that, that's every single residential house that gets constructed from that point forward has to meet those current codes.
Or if any existing stock, it has a major renovation.
Right. Correct.
That's right. Yeah, and it's going to mean things like mandatory exterior insulation, basically, right? So that's something new for residential builders and increased
air tightness is also a thing. And again, there's a lot of things that even like the type of units that you put in. Right, if you put in a high efficiency unit, you get a credit for it, and you have to go through a checklist now, and okay, I have this water heater and this HVAC system, and then you go through that list, and it's like, well, here's where I sit. Okay, I'm in compliance.
Steven, are we going to need someone like you for every single house we design in the future?
I mean, that would be great for me. I think starting off,
again, not to the same level, but yeah.
So starting off, I think some of these new techniques are going to be a little bit foreign and maybe daunting for builders, like actually concerning ourselves with air tightness and, putting on exterior insulation. If it's an inch of exterior insulation, it's not going to really break your normal process too much. But once you start going beyond maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches,
4 inches,
4 inches like I have, that's a major change. And it. So, one of the things I do is construction consulting. I specifically work with builders and their subs to help implement some of these new materials and processes that they're unfamiliar with, making sure that things get done correctly. Now, I think over time, as they become more familiar, I won't be needed on every project, and it'll become more like business as usual. But initially, there's some.
I think that's taking the
pains.
mystery out of it too, right? Because you can't expect every contractor that's going to go through this process and do it right the first time, right? First, so quality control. I know we have an inspector on our project, which is a third-party inspector.
Right.
So we have a consultant, and then we have an inspector. So we're really making sure we get it right.
Get your term Raider. You're talking about the Raider.
Yeah, Raider.
Raider, but he's doing
Basically,
inspections.
what does he do?
Yeah, he's doing
I know.
inspections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks
And-
for the correction, Paul.
Yeah. He's not, but like when we sought
me
him
out.
out, it's a Phius Raider, right? He's a certified Raider with Phius. So that's his title, and that's what he does with the Phius organization.
But to my point, I think that if you're not going to go through the whole Phius process, but you want to have a house that is getting a majority of the way there for a healthy environment, it'd be great to have someone like you work with the subs, walk through the motions, give confidence to the work that they're doing, especially when they first get started. And then you're right. Once we figure it out, it will be business as usual, and that's great.
Yeah. Well, again, once they implement the new codes, it'll probably be sometime next year. But once they kick that in, everyone's going to be learning, from contractors to subs to the inspectors with the building
At
department.
the city.
Yeah,
That's
that's when you
right.
said inspector. I'm like, is he talking about the city? Because no, that we don't have building. Like they're probably going to come out
That's a good
to.
point. That too.
They're going to
Paul.
come out and be like, what the heck is going on here?
Well, there were a number of inspections, of course, that being in the city of Columbus that I had to go through with the building department.
Were these
And,
guys like very confused? Like, what are you doing?
it
Some,
was
not
a
always,
mix.
but sometimes.
It was a mix, yeah. It I had a lot of questions when HVAC rough came. But he was great. He had never seen the kind of system I was putting in, but we had a conversation about it, and that was a good moment to kind of just talk about what I was trying to achieve and how we were doing that with the installation we had. And, he understood that, and so I think it was beneficial. We had the conversation. He went away from it with maybe a little bit more understanding of an alternate way of doing things. Similar thing with insulation.
Was
using that.
the initial conversation like, "Where's your system?" And you're like, "It's here."
Yeah,
and he's like, "Where?"
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah, because I have an all-in-one unit that's it's not even a split heat pump unit. It is a heat pump, but it lives entirely inside the house, so there's not a system outside with refrigerant lines coming in. So yeah,
less penetrations.
Yeah, so that was a big thing that he noticed. Like, what is this? Can you explain what's going on here? But it was painless.
Well, of course, you're so far above and beyond code standards that he's like, you're good.
Yeah. Fortunately, yeah. So it just usually takes a conversation. But if you know what you're doing, if you know what you're talking about, and you're happy to have that conversation with people, I've found that they're open to it. But the initial gut reaction for some people is to walk in like, what is this? I don't know about this. I don't necessarily like it.
Well,
so.
So this is actually, I'm going to segue just for a moment because we have a project together. And I'm really excited about this. It's going to be one of the largest.
It's also going to be the first. It's not retrofit, but what's the terminology that Phius applies to? Is it retrofit?
Yeah, retrofit. Yeah.
So,
but a Revive, or we're not doing the Revive.
Well, we are doing Revive. There are different.
See, I get mixed up with terminology too sometimes.
It's so the kind of, I don't know if it's a registered trademark.
Paul,
or whatever,
I always think you're perfect.
Yeah. But it's the first one that we're pursuing this path because essentially he had an existing house where we're doing the addition to it.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a retrofit is the general term that Phius also uses, but their program specifically is Revive, which is kind of their branding on Phius level retrofits.
Yeah. So we'll have the first, Revive project.
house.
Yeah.
It should be. Yeah.
Actually, so let's talk a little bit more about that. Being the fact that we have an existing stock of house and a large house to that, we have there's some nuances and some challenges and some existing conditions that we get some allowances on, but we also have to think about. And there is a timeline associated with that. So before we get into the details of the project, I wanted to talk about the timeline and how we've actually got permit approval on the plans before we even finish the project because
the plans aren't even technically done yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's funny because this is a process that does take longer. I want to be very direct about that and transparent. But it's also interesting that the zoning and department buildings are approving plans before we even finish everything because they're so far beyond code compliance that
the level of drawings that we need for the building department is satisfied, but there are a lot of other details that need to be included for the Phius aspect of the project, and that's
you're essentially doing a full fleshed out MEP package for the contractor to follow, which obviously we follow all the city standards on all of our drawings, but the degree that we're going into this is a lot more detailed.
Even every single junction, there's like a detail for it, right? That's drawn up. But yeah, like we probably had enough for permit probably a month or two ago,
right?
Easily. So yeah, there's a lot.
We did because we submitted a month or two ago and got approval.
2 weeks ago we submitted. So yeah. The zoning stuff was like 2 months back.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, like they approved it. Like they're like, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, it's much more detailed, especially, Nick, as you said, in the MEP side of things. Residential, we're used to kind of a fairly minimal amount of detail, maybe a few notes, maybe a mechanical equipment schedule on there and some basic stuff, but not a full duct design.
And the city is enforcing everything to the current standard. They've gotten a lot stricter. Before it was just like safety and welfare. And they have like, okay, well, let's enforce the entire code and right as we change it and get a lot stricter. But I mean, I think Columbus as a city has come a long way in terms of the quality assurance and we want to make sure that we are, if the plans reflect this, we want to make sure that it's built according to spec.
I'm surprised too, because technically if they're signing off on it, they have some liability.
Of course.
That's true. Yep.
So I'm surprised they were so relaxed before, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. But I think in a lot of places that was the norm. But a Phius project is kind of inherently more design heavy. We do a lot more in the pre-construction phase to refine the details to a really high degree and set forward a plan that is it's very detailed, and that's to make sure that we're not trying to figure things out in the field once construction gets going. There are going to be enough problems and enough things to address.
We're still going to have to figure some stuff out.
We will, absolutely. So we don't need any additional stuff that we're just putting off to quote unquote figure out.
Right.
We want to have figured out everything we can and just address those maybe little hiccups or the things that we find when we start, pulling off the cladding and the roof, and maybe something's different underneath than what we assumed.
Even going into it, like you have a good understanding of the amount of energy that the house is going to use. You have a model that you build to calculate it, how much heating demand there is, how much cooling demand there is. And oddly enough, if you add a refrigerator, it helped the heating demand.
Part of what's included in the energy
so
model.
Our clients like, well, just add 3 more.
Lots of fridge.
Not going to actually do that, but
I know. He was joking.
So there's an aspect of internal loads. Like each individual human inside actually counts as a little bit of heat and humidity, and the same for any appliance you put in. So you put in a refrigerator, for example, it actually increases the amount of heat in the house, so it decreases the amount of load that your
needed to heat the
HVAC
space.
system. Yeah.
But you're looking at the specific type of appliance, and you want like a spec sheet on it so that you can put it into your model, do that calculation up front. You know how much energy it's going to use. You know how much heat it's going to put out.
Yeah.
You know all this up front, and you're modeling it all to get some estimate so that you know it going into it.
That's right, and especially since building to a passive standard is going to result in much lower heating and cooling loads already. It's kind of the house is, as a system, more sensitive to some of those variations where you may add a couple appliances and it actually significantly changes the heating and cooling load enough that maybe you're a half a ton different now on your heat pump. So it's important to know that so that we can correctly size those pieces of equipment so that they operate at peak efficiency and effectiveness. Every little bit counts. So we're planning every aspect in energy modeling.
fun stuff. And you said I didn't like engineers.
I didn't say you didn't like them. I said, in general, architects and engineers don't get along.
I love architects.
But I would agree with you. Like it's a general stereotype, but I've never had that bad of an experience, so I don't know. So I just always joke about it.
I think when we get too much in our silos and don't collaborate on projects early on, that can kind of foster maybe some bad feelings. But the way I like to work is very collaborative, very early on, and I find that we have great relationships that way.
Well, as soon as our client decided that he wanted to go this direction, could we have done it ourselves and struggled through it? And would it have taken more time? And the answer is yes. I mean, it's similar to how Steven did his first project, right? But like, it took an extended timeline. You had to figure a lot of things out. There was a lot of lessons learned, and you were learning as you were going, right? And again, like,
we still
is it possible to do? Sure. But like, if you had someone who's an expert in it, who's been through it, has learned all those lessons, it's going to make everything a lot easier. So as soon as our client said, let's go this direction, my thought was, it's going to be a lot easier if we get someone on board who's already been through it and learned all those lessons versus us trying to struggle through it.
Yeah.
Can we do it? Yes, is the answer, but it's better to have someone collaborate with us.
And it's not just about designing a efficient home. It's also about going through the process of getting the certification. Yeah. There's a lot of hurdles that we need help with, you know. And
so my mindset is the same. It's like, the more you can collaborate, the more you can talk and discuss, especially with somebody that's learned all those lessons, the better off everybody's going to be at the end of the day. Us, the client, the consultant, everybody.
Yeah. I also had a question about, I always go back to numbers and finances, but
I like numbers.
Do you get any benefit from your insurance company because of the design of your home in terms of cost efficiency and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't
just saying, it might be actually the opposite, because it'd be more expensive to repair if, like, say, a tree fell into it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I get any particular benefit for the construction type. Maybe the fact that I have a metal roof, counts for something about it being a little more durable. Yeah, I think it's no significant difference up or down on an insurance premium.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. That doesn't really factor in, in my experience.
I think on the number side, it factors more into like the cost you pay for like overall to run and maintain the building, because like I said, it's more durable, it's more efficient, but then also like resale value, right? If he were to go and sell it at some point, it's going to hold a higher value than his neighbor's house just because of the type of build and the certification and everything.
Let's talk about lifestyle or disaster awareness. Columbus recently lost power with this crazy windstorm that came through. I know, Paul, you lost power. Your solar panels kept your house on until your wife came home.
We have two EVs, and she came home at night. I was asleep. She plugged it in.
Oh.
Goodbye, backup.
So do you have a battery system?
Yeah, we have a backup system.
But
anyway, it was like wiped out though.
Yeah,
but you got to charge Tesla, so that's cool, right?
We can go and
there you go
out and go to a restaurant, I guess.
you can get to somewhere that has power.
Okay, so you don't have I don't have a battery backup.
So no, I am completely in a grid tied system with net metering, no battery backup. Now, interestingly, so that. As I remember, I think it was last Friday, we had all that crazy wind.
Yes.
And, I was working at home in my home office, and I noticed anywhere from 6 to 10 mini power outages. And I say mini because I don't think any of them lasted more than, at least for me, like 2 seconds. That's it. And I do wonder, we had a very good sunlight actually at the time. I was looking at my solar production, and it was quite a bit higher than our consumption. I do think that at least a few of those times, the mini power outage that I experienced was possibly me switching back over to just solar use for a while, So there may have been extended power outages that I wasn't aware of. I did get some notifications from AEP that says, "Hey, we're showing that there's some power out in your area," and
I was enjoying
to get it up back. I did just from those annoying little temporary cuts. I didn't have it, so I may have been running on solar purely.
Yeah, when I got those notifications, I was smiling. I was like, Oh yeah, it's so frustrating not to have power. Typing away on my computer.
Yeah, so that's a nice thing. One thing I'm excited about, and partially the reason I didn't do battery storage. Battery storage is still very expensive for homes,
Mhm.
but I'm excited about two-way charging with electric vehicles and being able to tap into those
Oh.
as a
It's a
battery storage system.
large battery pack.
Yeah,
So
it's huge.
every day she charges because she drives quite a bit. So it's just the nature of it. But it's like the battery pack is almost depleted when she gets home, and it's like 100+ kilowatts of energy storage capacity that's sitting there. So
that's
every day, like my use is usually over 100 kilowatts. That's why my array is so large.
I didn't even think, because technically you got 2 EVs and then you got a hybrid.
Yeah, I have like almost 80 panels on my rooftop.
So that's interesting because, and you have the battery backup for the house, but you also have cars that are also functioning as.
If I could tap into the batteries, I'd have I'd have enough capacity to last for like 2 weeks.
Okay, so zombie apocalypse, we're meeting here, Steven.
Yeah.
They just got to get it to where we can use the car for backup as well.
Yeah, that's the two-way charging I'm talking about. It's possible. It's technology that's out there right now, but you have to have the right charger or the right car to allow it. But, to put that into perspective, my house on average, just an average day, uses, I think it's about like 27 kilowatt hours.
No, that's not much.
So, for example, like a Tesla Model S or something, that's 4 days of complete energy use for my house, which is all electric, by the way. So it could power everything in my house.
Yeah, if I took my cars out of it, I think I'm around like 40 something. Like I'm a little bit higher than you, obviously, because it's a bigger house and it's not to the same standard. But I mean, like as soon as you add the cars in, I'm over 100 kilowatts a day.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah, but you're not paying for gas.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
That's why the solar panels.
That's why the solar panels are very handy to have,
and they'll pay for themselves in a few years. Actually, the amount of energy you use.
My bill already went from it was like $600 a month, and it went from that down to like 100 something in the winter. Right when finally I started like,
summer's gonna be higher.
So it's going to be, you're going
to save more.
I'm going to save more in the summer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
As the weather changes, I'm going to just keep collecting.
You should be in nice shape for the summer, right?
Yeah.
You still have gas, right?
I still have gas for some units
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, heating and stuff. It's a traditional house.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Not fully electric.
I'm gonna build I'm gonna build my retirement home in the next few years, and you're gonna help me with it.
You're starting early.
Yeah. Yep.
But he's not that young.
Wow.
So who said that? So but no, like to the point of weather, I think this year it was the coldest winter and also the hottest winter. Right? So like we're seeing more swings, more fluctuations. The crazy windstorm that we had where power was cut, recently. So I think like if we can have homes that can last for a week or whatever, or if we have solar panels or backup systems in place, like again, instead of sitting there wondering when life is going to go back to normal, like you can just carry on as if nothing's happening, and everyone's comfortable, happy, and going about their business.
Yeah. One of the things about, my house is it can be about 20 degrees or so. And if the sun is shining, I don't use any heat.
Wow.
Like it's actually just not even on.
Yeah. Because you're getting enough solar heat from the sun.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So, you get a few days in a row like that. That's great. Now we're not blessed with that much sunshine here in Ohio. So there are definitely those gray days where I'm certainly using heat.
But in the summertime, you're gonna definitely have some serious benefits in terms of.
Yep. I've got roof overhangs that shade the windows from direct light in the summer, even though they let light in the winter. And my little HVAC unit just chugs away at low power, happily doing a little bit of cooling, dehumidifying, and keeping everything nice inside. But even if I had that totally off, it would be more comfortable, than most places.
Does that system have its own air exchange then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the piece of equipment I have is it's a heat pump. So it heats, it cools, it dehumidifies, and it provides fresh air exchange from outside.
Brilliant.
And filters it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just got the HEPA. I don't have a passive house yet, but I got the HEPA filter, the blue light, and all.
Okay.
some of that stuff, and the air exchange I got a big hood and stuff. But it's also a beast because my house isn't insulated the way I really wish it was,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you built your house, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Mhm.
It wasn't that long ago that
No.
you built it.
No.
Yeah, it just wasn't to,
Yeah.
a passive certified
Sure.
standard.
And listen,
Yeah.
it's decent. If you compare it to a standard house, a standard build, it's good. It performs better than that. I mean, I don't have too many issues, and we have some overhangs and things like that. But yeah, I really want to go all out. I want to do an atrium in the middle, like a greenhouse atrium in the middle. That's courtyard, pool, entertainment. It's gonna be really cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, next project.
We'll get started soon.
He's going to do
Sounds good.
the Roman courtyard, but enclose it so he can grow plants all year
round. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And entertain.
I love it.
Well, we're pretty much at time, so we can wrap it up. Where can people find you? Like, where's your information as far as do you have Instagram, or is it just your website primarily?
Yeah, it's mostly my website. I'm not I'm not heavy into social media. That's not my big game. But people can find my website at ClintonvillePassiveHouse.com.
You give talks as well here and there.
Yeah, I give talks here and there. The AIA back in January, I actually spoke a couple nights ago in Cincinnati to a kind of a BIM user group, a little bit of a niche kind of audience,
fun.
but and from time to time do something like this. Last year I did a WOSU radio program with On All Sides with Amy Jurovich on Passive House, just a little 20-minute primer to try to get the word out. But they can find me at ClintonvillePassiveHouse.com. That has some information about my personal home project, a little bit about some of the services I offer and how we could work together.
And your contact info, yeah.
And all my contact information and how to get in touch with me, yeah.
Well, Stephen, I think when the new residential code comes out next year, we'll have to have another podcast and compare how the standards have raised and still how they play out against Phius certifications.
That would be a good episode.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you're going to come to our new office. We're going to have a big, beautiful living room set up with a big screen TV, and we can watch the races together.
Great. I love that.
All right. That's probably too much. So we'll end it there, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.